Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today I have a fun fold card design that I want to share with you. And the best part is you can use any pattern paper you have on hand to create it. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, I have a double gatefold card that I want to share with you. It's super simple to make, and you can use any pattern papers to create it. Now, the cards in this video feature the Pansy Patch stamp set from Stampin' Up, as well as the Pansy Petals Designer Series paper. But keep in mind, you can use any pattern paper or any supplies you have on hand to create these cards. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so this is the double gatefold card. So basically I have this little belly band on here. This is just a piece of ribbon that I use to just kind of keep my gatefold card closed. So we can just slide that off. But this is what the double gatefold card looks like. And so this is completely made out of pattern paper. So I'm going to show you how to create this. Okay, so you're going to start with a piece of pattern paper cut at 5.5 by 12 inches. So you can basically make two of these double gatefold cards from one 12 by 12 inch piece of pattern paper. So that's pretty cool. So you want to make sure that you choose a pattern paper that's double-sided because we're going to be using both sides. We're going to be showcasing both of these patterns when we create the card. So I'm just going to flip my paper over. And I'm going to do my scoring now on this 12-inch side. So you're going to start by scoring it at 2 inches. And then 4 inches. And then 8 inches. And then 10 inches. So now that I've completed all of my scoring, basically what I need to do is measure 2 3/4 inches from the top to the center here. And I'm just going to make a little mark. And I'm going to do this on both sides. So we'll bring this side over and we'll just measure this at 2 3/4 inches and just make a little mark. And then we're going to put this back in our paper trimmer, and I'm going to cut a diagonal piece from this little mark up to this first score line. So we'll line up this little mark here. So we want that there, and then we want our score line, our first score line is right here. So I'm just going to cut off that little triangular piece. I'll just set that to the side. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So you want to make sure that you're basically just cutting off the top. So I've got my second little tick mark here, and then I got my score line right here. You probably can't see it that well. And I'm just going to make the cut. So you should end up with your paper with 2 angled cuts here up on the top. And you have these 2 little triangular pieces. So basically what we're going to be doing is the card is going to go, we're going to fold this over. I'm going to show you how this will look. And then we're going to take this flap and we're going to fold it back. And then we're going to fold on this other score line, fold it over. And then I'm going to take this other flap here and fold it back. So that's basically our double gatefold. But now we're going to take these triangular pieces and we're going to adhere them to the bottom part of this card so that when I close it, it gives us this fun little diamond shape here on the card. So see, when I remove it, that's how the card looks. But by cutting this on an angle and saving these pieces, we could adhere them and get this really cool look. So isn't that fun? All right, so basically I'm going to open this up and I'm just going to adhere these pieces to the corners. So I'm just using a little bit of liquid glue And we will just adhere these, and then this one will go on this side. All right, so that's what it should look like. Okay, so the next thing I did is I just cut a 5 by 3.5 inch piece of white cardstock. So this is just gonna go right on the inside here. Next, I cut 2 pieces of that same pattern paper at a 1/2 inch by 3.5. So I'm just gonna go ahead and adhere these on the top of this white piece. And then I'm gonna take this other one and adhere it on the bottom. And it just kind of accents the inside of the card really nicely. It also provides it more support. Since you are using designer paper to create this card, you'll want to have some thicker cardstock on the inside here, just so that it kind of stiffens up the card a little bit, because designer paper is kind of flimsy. Okay, so that's the inside. And then when we bring our double gatefold up, you can see because we adhered these pieces on the front, we have that fun diamond shape. So let me bring back this card. So this is what the card looks like finished. So I'm just tying a piece of ribbon around the bottom. I like to tie my bows upside down, so I have the card upside down right now. But I'm just tying a little bow around here. This will help keep the card closed. And it creates kind of a little belly band for your card, so you can easily slide this off and then put it back on. So the next thing I did is I just cut out one of the label dies using the Hippo and Friends dies. It just has some really unique little labels that you can use for your sentiments. And I'm just using a bit of fresh freesia and one of the sentiments from the Pansy Patch set. So we'll just add that. All right, so one of the things that you want to keep in mind is that you have this center section here that opens. So when you adhere your sentiment to the front of your card, you want to make sure that you only put adhesive on one side of it, because if you put adhesive on both, obviously you won't be able to open your card. So you want to make sure you don't do that. So I'm just putting a couple dimensionals on the left side, and then we'll just adhere that to our card front. And then the last thing I did is just add some loose flower flourishes. So these colors went really nicely with this particular designer paper. I'm using a glue dot to add the large flower. And then I just took my little liquid glue and just put a little dab of glue there next to that large flower, and then I can also add a smaller one. And then you just give that a moment to dry. All right, so how fun is that? So again, all you have to do is just slide off the belly band. So let's just move this one over. Just slide off that ribbon, or you can untie it and retie it, whatever you want to do. And then the card opens up like this, and you can add a little message on the inside. All right, so super cute, pretty fun and simple. Okay, I just have a couple of tips that I want to share with you regarding the pattern paper. So you'll notice that this pattern paper that I used for this particular card, this paper works well no matter which direction you cut it in, right? You know, the pattern is just kind of random. And so how I cut my paper, when I cut it at 5.5 by 12, it didn't really matter because the pattern is random. This particular paper, the pattern is not random. It has a specific pattern, so you have to be careful how you cut your paper when you create cards, you know, with paper that has a specific pattern. Otherwise your flowers will be upside down or they'll be sideways. So we want our flowers to be vertical in this position. So I'm going to show you a little tip on how to use these larger patterns. So I have this large pattern, it's directional here. So I had cut my paper at 5.5, it's 5.5 wide, and it's 12 inches long. And then I cut these corner pieces off of here, okay? Just like I did with the other ones, I cut these corner pieces off. And so with this, you're going to want to use your pattern, your large pattern like this is going to be the inside of your card, because you can flip these corner pieces over, as I did on this card, and you have a nice little diamond shape, you know, your pattern, your large pattern's on the inside, but you still have this smaller pattern, you know, this gingham on the outside, and it gives you a really nice look. I'm going to show you what happens if you decide to put the gingham on the inside and your larger pattern on the outside. So let me just fold this here so you can see how this looks. So you can kind of play around with your patterns. That's what I did. That's how I came up with this little tip for you. Because I tried to put it together one way and found out it doesn't really work. So, okay. So I wanted to do, you know, I wanted to have this gingham pattern in, you know, the middle and kind of have my florals on the outside. But when I cut these pieces, so these are the pieces that came off the top here. When I cut these pieces, you have to flip them around. And now look what happens. It's upside down. So your pattern, your floral pattern ends up upside down instead of in this direction. And that's just because the pattern, this floral pattern is, you know, goes in one direction. So that's why I recommend, you know, just kind of playing around with your design a little bit, making sure that the patterns that you're using are easily reversible. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense. So now you can see when I use the gingham, it works just perfect. You know, so I could put these here on the corners, and then the inside, my flowers are the direction that I want them to be. So I hope that makes sense. So just kind of play around with it. You know, as long as you cut your paper in the correct direction this way, you can just play around with the folds until you come up with something that you like for your diamond design. So this is what the finished card looks like. And then for this one, I just used a different color ribbon to create a little belly band for the bottom here to hold my card together. Okay, so there you go. Now you know how to create a double gatefold card, and you have some fun ways to use your pattern papers. So if you enjoyed these card ideas, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave me a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the card shared here today. Have a fun and creative day, my friends. Take care.